I'm sure you've seen this face before, on t-shirts, buildings, and even on people's arms. But who is this guy? And why is everyone so obsessed with him? To answer that question, we need to go all the way back. You see, in 1959, the Cuban people hated the way they were treated by their corrupt government under this guy, called Batista, who was pretty much shit at making the country more economically proactive. So that's when this man right here, Che Guevara, along with Fidel Castro, decided to execute an organized revolt to overthrow the Cuban government and take control. And at first, to many Cubans, they were seen as heroes. But even so, how can a left-wing revolutionary become so iconic not just at home, but across the world? We can split this into 3 sections, which all link back to the exact same question. The first is timing. Che appeared during times where the world was already full of revolutions, protests, and anti-government movements, especially in the East. During the 1960s, students were protesting wars, countries were fighting colonial rule, and millions of young people had enough with the actions of their governments. So when the news spread that a small group of rebels had overthrown the Cuban government, Che instantly became an icon to the people worldwide because it gave hope that they could as well achieve the same victory in their homes. To many people outside Cuba, he represented the idea that ordinary people could fight back against powerful systems and actually win victoriously. To fully understand why this turned into an absolute global obsession, you have to look at what was happening across the world at that exact moment.
There are some who say that communism is the wave of the future. Let them come to Berlin.
It was the peak of the Cold War. The entire planet was paralyzed by the continuous fear of nuclear war. On one side, you had the United States, and on the other, the Soviet Union. These were massive governments with the most nuclear weapons at the time. The average citizen felt completely powerless, as if they were the pawn in a game of chess, played by politicians. But then, right in the middle of this tense global standoff, Che Guevara bursts into the picture. And he didn't look like a politician at all. He didn't wear a formal suit, he didn't give polished speeches from behind a bulletproof podium, and he didn't hide away in a government building. Instead, he wore a dirty green uniform, grew out his hair, smoked cigars, and literally fought in the mud alongside regular people. Right on the doorstep of the United States, just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. This tiny group of rebels had completely disrupted the confrontation between 2 major powers. They proved that a modern, heavily funded military could actually be defeated by sheer force of will and a powerful motive. A motive to pull their own people out of misery and provide a better future for their country. This was the exact moment when a regular man from Argentina was transformed into an immortal global marketing scheme. For generations to come, anyone who had the intentions to rebel against their own political system, whether they were students in Paris or activists in Hollywood, fell right into the romantic delusion of the righteous freedom fighter. But as his face spread across millions of t-shirts and posters worldwide, a dark historical irony was silently evolving.
Saw clear, a murdering homophobic thug is the perfect symbol
Because
for people.
while the global public fell desperately in love with the cinematic symbol of a hero, they had absolutely no idea about the cold-blooded monster he had actually become behind closed doors. I'm sure you never thought of it, but what do you think happened after the revolution? The fighting in the jungle was over, and Che Guevara was given a new job. He was appointed as the supreme commander of La Cabaña, a massive stone prison overlooking the city of Havana. This is where everything you know about him completely falls apart. You see, he wasn't operating a government office. He was executing a purge, Day after day, he sat behind a desk reviewing documents and signing death warrants for hundreds of people. These were not fair trials. In most cases, the decisions were made in minutes, and the prisoners were immediately dragged outside to face a firing squad. Does that not sound like authoritarianism? Che didn't try to hide his brutal nature. In fact, he was proud of it. In his own letters, he literally wrote that a revolutionary must become a cold killing machine driven by pure hate. And this brings us right back to the main question. Why is everyone so obsessed with him? We humans are naturally drawn to dangerous, rebellious figures. The world fell in love with Che's radical and violent character. But the terrifying truth is that the exact same persona that people admire on a t-shirt today is the exact same ruthlessness that put hundreds of people against the wall to be shot. What does this word mean, you may ask? It is the political system where the government holds all the power, controls public and private life, limits freedoms, and oppresses resistance through force and propaganda. Che's moral crimes did not end at the prison of La Cabaña. Once the executions were over, he took control of Cuba's economy. And this is where his vision got even darker. Che didn't believe in personal freedom. He wanted to create what he referred to as New Man. A citizen who had no individual desires, no personal ambition, and lived purely to serve the state. If you didn't fit into this perfect box, you were considered a threat to the party. Under this new system, independent labor unions were banned, the free press was completely silenced, and anyone who spoke out or simply looked different, including religious groups and activists, was viewed as a disease. This mindset eventually led to brutal forced labor camps, known as UMAP, where thousands of unorthodox citizens were sent to be re-educated through hard labor. Now look at the twist here. When a modern teenager or activists wear a Che Guevara t-shirt today, why do they do it? They do it to stand out. They do it to express their own individualism and freedom. But the hard reality is that Che's entire life's work was dedicated to destroying individual expression. The man on that shirt would have despised the very people wearing it. So, how did a man with this much blood on his hands become a global symbol of peace and rebellion? 1st of April, 1965. After the total failure of his economic policies, Fidel Castro receives a letter from Che Guevara, stating that he has resigned from his position. 23 days later, Che flies to Congo to assist their revolution. By late 1966, he secretly enters Bolivia with the goal of launching the Pan-South American Peasant Revolt. But to his misfortune, he was captured by the Bolivian army on the 8th of October 1967 and was executed the next day by a soldier named Mario Terán. Some have questions. Why didn't Castro do anything when Guevara was imprisoned? You see, some historians argue that Fidel Castro realized something no one else did. A living Che was a political liability, but a dead one could be turned into a propaganda masterpiece. The Cuban government immediately went to work. They used a single photograph of Che, taken years earlier by a photographer named Alberto Corta, and began distributing it worldwide. They intentionally scrubbed away the firing squads, wiped out the labor camps, and hid his brutal nature from history. They never marketed the real man, they marketed a sanitized ghost. And then came the final twist of the trap. Capitalist corporations realized that this edgy, rebellious face led to more sales. The very economic system Che spent his entire life trying to destroy is the exact same system that made his face unforgettable. In the year 1920, a psychologist named Edward Thorndike conducted a study on military officers, and it exposed a strange flaw in the way humans think. He asked commanders to assess their soldiers on traits like intelligence, leadership, and personal character. The results revealed a bizarre pattern. If a soldier had a great physique, stood tall with confidence, and looked commanding, officers automatically rated him as smarter, braver, and superior, even when they had little evidence to back it up. Thorndike described this as the halo effect. For this video, his study successfully demonstrates one of the biggest issues behind public obsession: Human judgment is sometimes completely biased and subjective. Why am I telling you this? Because it leads us right back to that famous picture from earlier. When someone looks at Che Guevara for the first time, are they reading his economic policies or studying his involvement in the execution list at La Cabaña? Of course not. They are staring at a striking face framed by a beret. Wouldn't you be interested in such a figure? Our minds can instantly fall victim to the halo effect, automatically filling in the blanks with the traits of courage, freedom, and justice without us even knowing. But the immense obsession with this figure isn't fully based on history or facts. It is, however, powered by a biological anomaly that tricks millions of people into worshipping a mask they never question. Che Guevara died in the jungles of Bolivia as a defeated man, but the illusion created around him ever since proved to be eternal. His story is no longer just about communism, revolution, or guerrilla warfare. It stands as a warning about the fragility of human cognition. It reveals how easily history can be rewritten, how quickly blood can be scrubbed away, and how effortlessly our own minds can be hijacked by a single powerful image. The real tragedy isn't just that a brutal tyrant became a global icon. The tragedy is that millions of people still continue to wear his face today as I speak without ever knowing who he actually was. And unfortunately, history is almost never as simple as the graphics we print on t-shirts. Thank you for watching. If you want to dive deeper into history's most complex figures and events of the 20th century, subscribe to the channel and I'll see you in the next archive.